by the Interior Minister. Thanks for that, Jessica Lemazurier in the newsroom. The merry month of May marks the end of Europe's football seasons, a parade through Manchester honoring United and its manager Alex Ferguson, his final English Premiership title before retirement. There you see it. In Spain, the Ramblas of Barcelona cheered their heroes as Lionel Messi's side led La Liga start to finish. Which brings us to France. Paris Saint-Germain's first title since 1994, spoiled by rioting, which authorities have blamed mostly on ultras, hooligans who've been barred for life from the stadium. Has the PSG's past come back to haunt its new Qatari owners, or are they discovering a more deep-rooted problem with France? Never during the big riots of 2005 did Paris's city centre come under assault. The Trocadero and the posh shops on the Champs-Élysées pick up the pieces this Tuesday. The political fallout goes beyond public safety, with statements from the right sometimes bordering on racist. Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at the riots in Paris. With us to talk about it, sports reporter Jonathan Johnson, who, among many feathers in his cap, is a contributor to French Football Weekly. Welcome to the show. Welcome as well to sociologist Marie-Cécile Nave of the think tank, would you say Différent? How do you pronounce it the French way?
Yeah, you can pronounce it in the English way. Yeah.
Think tank is called Different. Thank you for being with us. Thanks as well for joining us to Émeric Dupré, political science graduate, here in his capacity as a rabid Paris Saint-Germain supporter. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks.
And Abdel Karim Aishi of the anti-racist Les Indignés de la République movement. How would you translate that?
Not indigné, it's indigène.
Indigène, excuse me, yes.
Yeah. How could I translate that
The
in
indigenous,
English?
the indigenous sons of the Republic, maybe?
Yeah. So you can translate it like this.
Yeah. Anyway, sons and daughters, I suppose.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us. The France 24 debate, where you can always join the conversation on Facebook, and you have, as well as on Twitter. Our hashtag is F24debate. Let's give you the latest. 39 arrests, several dozen injured, huge damage to shops and cars in Paris's posh right bank. Just a few hours after some opposition MPs called for the head of the Interior Minister in Parliament, Manuel Valls, this Tuesday evening, hosting a meeting that brought together officials, the French Football Federation, and Paris Saint-Germain's staff. Jonathan Johnson, who is to blame?
That's a difficult question. I think there's many people you can maybe look at to shoulder some of the blame. I don't think you can single out one particular group. I think for a start it was perhaps naive of the club, knowing what they knew after the signing of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and the reaction that got in the same venue. But I also think that the police should have known better ahead of an event like this, to know that they were understaffed to deal with such high demand. It's been 19 years since Paris Saint-Germain won a domestic title, and I think it was inevitable that there was going to be an outpouring of emotion. And given the...
But hang on a second, an outpouring of emotion, but you saw the images at the beginning of the show from Manchester. I mean, there's an outpouring of emotion there, but nobody's rioting.
Yeah, but I think that Paris Saint-Germain are a rare club in which there are many different factions of support. And I think that anybody who knew the club would know that outpouring of emotion was not going to be wholly positive.
All right, let's look at that multi-layered club. The rioting broke out. Some of the rioters rolled out a banner that read "Freedom for the Ultras." The Ultras, there you see the banner, are a group, Émeric Dupré, a lot of them banned for life from the stadium. And you were telling us before we went on air that you had a sense there might be trouble and you decided not to go.
I not sense that the ultras were the trouble in itself, but all of them are not banned. They banned themselves because the club won't allow any associations in the Parc des Princes. But
they won't allow any supporters associations.
No, because of the trouble we had in the past. But I don't think the ultras may be the only factor that led to the riots. I'm not sure we can call it riots because riots it's an uprising, unorganized, but I think it's just violence. But the ultras, I think, don't have a lot of how to say that no, there wasn't just them. I think there was a lot of people.
You don't think it was just the ultras, who, by the way, have a very bad reputation?
Yes,
Nazi salutes at games in the past.
Some of them, but it's a minority. I think. I really think it's a minority. Just like the ultras, maybe some have been involved in the violence of yesterday, but just a minority, to my opinion. And they made a communique where they say it wasn't us because we don't wear all the PSG gear of the last seasons because we are against it. And they say, look at the image, you won't see us. I'm not sure it's totally true, but we have to listen.
How do you explain that banner then that was rolled out?
I think it was just a little part of them, of the ultras. They're going to protest on Saturday to demonstrate they are not violent. They're going to do it pacifically. We'll see.
All right, we'll see if they do it pacifically.
Yeah.
Abdelkarim Maichi, what's your take on why there was rioting?
Why? There is a problem with the football fans in the whole world, not just in France. So we know that this particular sport have a in itself violent, a part of violence. When you see everybody saw Zinedine Zidane and his violence during the
headbutt in the World Cup final.
Yeah. So I think it's a part of this sport itself. There is violence in this sport, and there also a particular link between football and the people, the French, So it's there's a lot of emotion, so that can lead to such problems, So I don't have the precise explanation of those violence, but I can see that there's a long history. Even when Franck Ribéry talk about anything, on the way he talk, immediately medias come and ask why he's speaking like that, why he has not the proper attitude, So
right. So the players on the national team don't show necessarily the best example, but. Yeah. But nonetheless, and I'll put this question to you, Marie-Cécile Nave. Hooliganism used to be rampant in, for instance, England.
Yes.
But you won't see it, and you haven't seen it in years, decades even. Scenes where there was a rampage through a city centre, not just a city centre, but the capital. It'd be unheard of today in London, for instance, or in Madrid, to have this kind of rioting after, on top of it, the celebration of a football title.
Well,
Is there something particular about France?
I'm not sure the events that happened yesterday have much to do with hooliganism, and I'm not sure a fortiori that they have to do with ultras. I think it's we must avoid to overinterpret facts. In football, and it's the same in demonstrations. You have violent people. Many of them don't belong to demonstrations, and for example, many of them yesterday were not supporters of the team. We don't know about that, but it's probably the case. And what has been done in England are very, very, very tough measures. The prices of seats have been.
They raised the price of the seats.
Been raised a lot. People were filmed and were banned to come into stadiums and so on. Maybe we should avoid confusions because what happened yesterday has nothing to do with sport, and I'm pretty sure that it has nothing to do with supporterism. it's not because there was a banner in the crowd about ultras because they disagree to have been banned from stadium for a long time, but it doesn't mean that they did violent acts afterwards. I'm not sure of that.
All right, so we still have to piece things together. Regarding what happened, here's what the police superintendent had to say in response to charges, well, the ones that you made, that he didn't anticipate enough what was about to unfold.
You want to organize a party for 15,000 people with 10,000 police to look after them? It's not a party anymore. 800 policemen were deployed.
Still, though, and I get back to this point, Jonathan Johnson, why did it have to become violent?
I think that...
And I should say, full disclosure, you said yourself before the show that you're a journalist, but you're also a Paris Saint-Germain supporter.
Yeah, I've been a Paris Saint-Germain supporter for the best part of a decade, and I've seen some very dark things happen in my time following the club. But I would say I would agree that it is not it's not the majority of those supporters who turned it violent. I just think that there was a lot of built-up angst, frustration, emotion, and that positive celebration was inevitably going to lead to some violence because there was a potent mix of people attending the event. It wasn't just fans, it wasn't just ultras. I also believe that there were people there not associated with football in any way who came to the event solely for the purpose of making trouble.
All right, and so you're saying there's also pent-up frustration on the part of a small minority of people. What you were describing about France perhaps waking up later than most when it comes to the idea of how to deal with hooliganism. Better late than never, though, France has woken up and has started clamping down about 7 years ago.
Dogged for decades by hooligan problems, Paris Saint-Germain has in recent years made wholesale changes to tackle the problem. Acts of violence and racism by a number of its supporters were long an embarrassment to the club. In 2010, after the death of a fan at the hands of rival PSG supporters, the club implemented the Le Preux plan, which made sweeping changes. It brought an end to group season tickets, made seating more random in previously troublesome areas of the Parc des Princes, and offered preferential ticket prices to attract families. The first moves to ban offending fans from stadiums in France were taken in 2006 by then Interior Minister Nicolas Sarkozy. Laws were also introduced to allow for the winding up of violent supporters groups. The notorious Boulogne boys preempted their own dissolution by disbanding following the controversy over an offensive banner at the French League Cup final in 2008. Other groups have since been wound up and the Parc des Princes has become noticeably more calm. The violence at Monday's title celebrations took everyone by surprise, police included.
The club has made considerable efforts in recent years in collaboration with the police. I think nobody, myself included, saw anything in particular to say to the club. The celebration is not going ahead.
Though banned from the Parc des Princes, the club's unwanted fans have not gone away, and many of them still turn up on Paris Saint-Germain's foreign travels.
Émeric Dupré, how do you handle this small but very violent and vocal group that's been banned from the stadium now for years, but keeps popping up? How do you deal with them?
Honestly, I don't know, but I'm sure the club, have to do something. Because most of them are reproaching to the club that they can't speak anymore. Maybe if the club was trying to hear us, maybe it would be a little start. But what is sad after all of this is that all that will be remembered is that the violence, not the title in itself. And most of the supporters of Paris Saint-Germain are sad because that's always what the medias and the politicals and other clubs are keeping in their minds of the PSG. Always the violence, always the sad part. And as a supporter, I'm I do not agree with what happened yesterday. I do not agree with banning all the ultras and the ambience in the Parc des Princes. But we have to do something. We have to stop violence. And there were one murder. I don't know when exactly.
2010.
2010, but it can't happen anymore. We don't want that. It's just a sport. And I want to be every time a party, a fest of the football. But I think the club really should talk with some of the supporters.
Abdelkarim Aishi, when you go to the working class suburbs of Paris nowadays, with Paris winning so much, everybody's wearing the Paris Saint-Germain kit. They're all wearing PSG jerseys, which wasn't perhaps the case a few years ago. Has the reputation of the club changed?
In fact, they tried to change the image of the club when the Qatar wanted to invest a lot of money in this club. They tried, and I think it's easy to constate that it's a success for Qatar. So they changed the image of the club. It's effective. You can't say it's not. So, but I think that you're talking about young people, just young people in classroom.
Young people in the banlieue, in the working class suburbs. What do they think of Paris Saint-Germain? Because nowadays you see the kid everywhere.
Yeah. Every kid has his Ibrahimovic T-shirt, and it's easy to see when you take the metro or the bus. You can see that. But I want to point out something else in this debate. It's the tendency for French politics to ethnicize those violence, and I'm here to say that it's really a problem for people who are living in the suburb of Paris or other big cities to systematically being pointed out by the medias and the politics as offenders, So I think it's an important thing we have to debate.
We're going to pick up on that point when we come back with the France 24 debate. Just one comment here for you from Twitter. Jerome Pugmire of AP, who says, you can't solve 25 years of problems with a swing of a magic wand. When we come back, we're going to pick up on this issue of the political reaction to those riots in Paris. Stay with us.
It's pathetic. What a sight to show to the world. Awful. Awful.
It's very sad. Above all, it's a dreadful image to give to people around the world. We really don't need that today. We have so many difficulties as it is. There's no point in this kind of behavior. It's harmful for the whole country.